Yo, what's poppin', guys? Welcome to our channel. This is our new channel, new series called The Millers React, where we talk all things relationships. So if you're new to this channel, which you probably are because this is a new thing that we're doing right now, my name is Jimmy Miller and this is
Ashley Miller.
Is my lovely wife. We've been married 7 years now.
7 years.
Now, been together 10 plus years, and it's just been an incredible ride. People always come up to us and they enjoy us together, and they always ask us about our relationship. So hopefully we can shed some light on some stuff here. But in this episode, we want to talk about the new hot thing right now, which is called Love is Blind.
We're getting married. That's scary.
Do I want to marry him? I don't know.
Do you take her to be your lawful wedded wife?
I cannot do this.
This new Netflix series has taken off. And so if you're unfamiliar with the show Love is Blind, I don't know where you've been, but it's everywhere. So basically the concept of the show is they sit these people in separate rooms and they only can talk to each other through a wall. There's no windows.
They're in these things called pods.
They call them the pods.
They're pods.
Yeah.
So it literally is like a room that's separated in half by a wall. So all you can do is hear. You can't see the person that you're talking to.
Yeah, so you're supposed to fall in love with this person's this person's personality, and it's all through these things that they call the pods, and they can't see each other, and you're supposed to get married just based off of 10 days of exposure to this person, just in communication. So it's weird. You don't actually get to see them. You just say yes, or you say, will you marry me? And the other person says, I do or I don't. And then they see each other later, which is like the craziest idea I've ever heard. But that's what makes this show so interesting. So on today's episode, we want to recap episode 1. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't really remember a whole lot that happened on episode 1 more than
I do.
Yeah, they just the introductions and people meeting each other. So if you want to take it away, go ahead.
So basically, like so the guys are separated from the girls. All the guys are in one room, all the girls are staying in one room or one place or whatever. And so they, I guess, they go in with these notebooks and they start just going down the list. They meet these people, and my assumption is they have names, so they know like who all's there, but they get to make little notes about the people that they're having conversations with. So they go back and they're like, okay, oh, I really like this about this person, or oh, I'd like to date this person again through the pods. Now, mind you, they can't see them, so it literally is all based on conversation. And so, like, there's one instance where a girl, Lauren, is talking to a guy, and he's like, oh, I can tell you're African American, and she's like,
yeah,
what? And she goes, no, actually I'm white. But it's just like stuff like that. So you're picking up on character, you're picking up on personality, you're picking up on maybe even bias.
And was that Barnett? I think that was Barnett.
No, it was, I don't know.
Okay.
No, it wasn't Barnett. I think it was just some guy that we like never saw again.
Yeah.
I think the thing with Barnett that you're thinking about was when the third black girl that we never saw again was talking. No, it was the other black girl named Diamond, and he like said her name was like a stripper name.
A stripper name.
And
that's
she like
right.
it was like a huge turn off for her or whatever. And she's like, next please. But anyway, so like it's this whole idea of you just meet someone, you fall in love, sight unseen. That's like their big phrase that they say all the time, sight unseen. And
I don't even remember that much.
I do. And they just talk and get to know these people for who they are, or who they make you believe that they are. And then at the end of it, you get a proposal, or you propose or you don't, you accept it or you don't. And from there you kind of go on. And so the whole first episode is talking about, is just showing little snippets of these people speed dating in the pods.
Yeah.
Making little notes of, oh, I like you, and oh, no, I don't. And you can see like who makes a connection and who doesn't. And you can see who says that they made a connection, and you're like, really?
Did you?
But did you though?
Did you?
Nah. I don't know about all that. So so you get to see all that in the first episode.
Yeah, so let's talk about it. What do you think? Is love truly blind, or what do you think of the whole concept as a whole? Like,
I just know that I wouldn't be doing it. That's
Facts.
all I know. Like,
Facts.
I would never just show up and be like, hey, I don't know you. We talked for 30 minutes and I love you. Wrong. But that's just not my personality. Like, I am a very social friendly person and all that's great, but this would not be my thing. And it's not the idea of love is blind, because I really don't feel like love is blind, because I feel like in order to truly love, you have to be able to witness and experience things that are huge turnoffs, that are huge, like struggles, things that are, like genuinely things that you might be struggling with. Now, I'm not saying go marry someone who has all these problems that you don't agree with and, oh, it's love. No, I'm saying that in love and in relationship, because relationships are messy, that you have to be able to look beyond those things, but it's not because you don't know them. It's because you see them and you choose to still love anyway. And I think there's a big difference between that kind of blind love and blind love as in I've never seen you before.
Yeah, and so on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is physical attraction for you?
I mean, I think it's important because when you are really truly talking about relationships, like long-term relationship, like once, marriage, I mean, clearly one of the expectations is sex. Everybody knows that. But if you're not attracted to somebody, like how likely are you going to want to be to have sex with them? Or how likely are you going to want to be to like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and in those moments when they're like getting on your nerves and irking your soul, it's always a benefit for them to be attractive to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you could make me mad. I could be pissed. You could do something ridiculous just to make me mad. And then you walk through with a shirt off and I'm like, dang it.
Oh,
maybe I'm not that mad. Like, okay, I'm still mad about it, but I forgive you a little more than I did 2 seconds ago.
It's exclusive right now. I didn't even know.
It doesn't matter. I'm just saying.
Tricks right now.
I'm just saying. Like, I think attraction's a big deal. Attraction is a big deal. I'd say it's probably like a 8.5, and I'm not saying I'm shallow. I'm just saying like it is absolutely a component. Like,
I think
I wouldn't go full on date someone that I'm not attracted to. But the thing is with attraction, I don't think it's just physical. I think like some of the factors in me being attracted to you is not just physical. Like that's a bonus. But I'm just saying like, there's the intellectual, there's the spiritual, there's, your personality and how I find you funny or how you handle things, or your character. There's all that stuff that factors into attraction. It's not just physical.
Yeah, and for me, I definitely could not take part in this experiment, only because like, okay, first off, it just makes you look thirsty. Like, let's just be real. Like okay, you're going to go on this TV show to find
gotcha.
Yes, super thirsty. So like, you're going on this TV show to quote unquote find your soulmate after 10 days. Like, 10 days is one thing to know someone for a long time and then date for 10 days and maybe you feel some type of way, but you've known them for years or XYZ. But to go into something not having a clue about who a person is, and then deciding that you want to marry them after 10 days is absurd to me, just because there is so much lacking in the actual friendship part of being married. Like, so much of being married is friendship, and in 10 days you're not learning anyone. I guarantee you're not learning anyone's actual true self in 10 days. You can't
even see that many sides of someone
exactly
in such a short amount of time. And really, I think
people can't
in the episodes, like
days.
In the first episode, I want to say it was probably only a matter of like 3 or 4 days. It wasn't even a full 10 days before some people were getting proposals. And it's like, I get it. You're shut out from the world. You don't have your cell phone, no social media. Like, your sole attention is on these people that you're having these conversations with. So it's easier to set the mood and get swept up in all of it and be emotional and all that other stuff. But like, I just don't know how realistic it is. And I'm not bashing these people for doing it. I just would not be one of the ones doing it. I feel
I'm glad they did it because we get to enjoy it.
Yeah. But I mean, like, so for me, marriage is a permanent thing, and like, relationships, we're supposed to be intentional with relationships, and I just don't know how intentional you can truly be. Like, yeah, I'm intentionally pod dating you for 7 days so that I can get a proposal, but is it so that you can get a proposal and have a wedding, or is it so you can have a marriage? Because there's a difference. Man. I'm just saying.
Facts.
But it's all
much
these things that I
facts.
feel like nobody ever talks about. Like when we were getting married, people didn't really truly talk about relationships. They didn't talk about the difficulties of marriage and how much of a struggle it can be. They only talked about the things that were, oh, it's so great, and like someone told me like right before we got married, like, oh, we've never had an argument, and I was like, oh, well, y'all don't really love each other then.
Yeah, somebody was
that
lying.
that can't be real. Like they can't be real life, and you don't have to always agree to have a great relationship, but you do have to figure out how to make it work. And so even with the show and watching people make things work, they have all these problems, but I feel like it's because they don't know each other and they're committing their whole lives or however long it's going to end up being, to this person, and there's little simple things they can't even get over and work out because they didn't truly know each other. So that's just my little perspective.
Yep. And with me being kind of somewhat behind the scenes with acting and stuff like that, I just wonder what all is in the contract, as far as, so if they get casted on the show and then they actually make it to the marriage stage, is there some kind of bonus? Is there some kind of incentive? I kind of feel like some of the people aren't on here just to actually find a soulmate. I feel like some people are on here for clout, just to have their 15 seconds of fame. And also just to get the ring and not necessarily to get the soulmate, like she said earlier. Yeah. So I don't know. It's all weird too, and I also wonder how much of it is scripted and how much is not scripted, because we'll get into that in later episodes. But
even still, and I'm not done. We got to talk more about the actual episode itself.
Yeah,
so, we do. I did notice that there were people like, you know what, we definitely have a connection, and I'm feeling the vibe, and it's interesting to watch the process, even just through the first episode where they've talked to these people maybe 2 times, and it is little things that people start to pick up on, or they notice, anticipation, or someone waiting and then finding out that it's the person that they wanted to talk to for a second or third time, and the relief, oh, I was hoping it was you, or but it's definitely interesting to me, when you have nothing really else to think about or worry about, you're removed from your environment, so you're not working, your family doesn't know you're there, your friends don't know you're there, no one knows, you're just there, and you're just submerged with all these other girls and all these other dudes if you're a dude, and then listening to people talk and them trying to generate conversations. Mm-hmm. I really think a lot of it was them trying to figure out who is it that you were into, and who were you into. And so the guy Barnett, he had he was the popular 3 guy. Yeah, he had 3 chicks that were after him, but it's in in my head it's they're trying to strike conversation to figure it out so that they can figure out who their competition is, which in my head that still hinders genuine relationship building within the house of girls, because now you're looking at them as competition.
You know what I found interesting about Barnett is that almost all the girls called him a player. Kind of. I don't know if they used the word cocky
player.
Or not.
They used
player, but they liked him because he gave off that vibe. Yeah. I thought that was super interesting and super weird. It was so you like someone that's a player, or it's how do you? Yeah, yeah. Sips tea, sips water, because certain people were thirsty. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Then another huge part of Barnett's allure or charm was that he was funny. He made all the girls laugh, and so they were after him because he was funny. I get it. Laughter is a big thing, but it can't be the only thing that will attract you to someone.
Yeah, and I will say there were a couple of conversations listening, and you're oh, those are genuine questions. And then there's one part where some guy that I don't even know who he was, and I don't remember who it was, but he was listening to some girl, and she was talking about her family and things that are important to her, and he literally got up and walked out, and I was like, okay. Yeah. So clearly he's not even there for the relationship building part. Now, is it funny and entertaining? Yes. Did I laugh? Absolutely, because I was I might have walked out too. She's kind of boring, but but even still, I don't know. Like if this were a real experiment and we were to really truly try this without a script, without, you know, whatever rules might have been in place, or but like if we were to truly try this, I don't know, because like I don't know about you, but I know people who met somebody and within 3 months they were engaged and married, and here they are like 12, 15 years later and they're still married. So
that's different. 3 months.
No, 3 months from the time they met each other. So I mean, this is 30 days. It's only 2 months less than that. And I mean, by the time these people like planned a wedding and did all that, that's just how long it took. Like, you know, I don't know that they would have waited that long if they.
I think this concept also is not very, very foreign in other cultures. Because when you think about it, like arranged marriages. Yeah, but this is still different.
This is different because it's a social experiment. Literally, like it's they're taking every aspect of your life and they're dictating how things are going. So
and they're taking away one major thing in relationships, which is the visual aspect of it when you first meet.
Well, two major things, because people are so attached to their phone and now they don't have, you know, they can't text a friend and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Or hey, this guy said this to me, or I think I like that. You know, that whole aspect of, and that's what a lot of people do and we don't probably realize it, but when we're first in relationships, we consult with someone that we trust. Like, hey, do you think this is rational? Or do you think that am I moving too fast, or whatever the case is? Because there's always that voice of reason for someone who truly, like, who cares about you. You know, like, oh, girl, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you should marry him after 30 minutes. Like, maybe wait another hour and see how you feel. Like, just stuff like that. Like, those are two big components. Yeah. And I think as the show progresses, you start to hear them constantly wonder, like, I wonder what they look like. I wonder what they look like, because it's always in the back of their mind. Yeah. And I think as the episodes unfold, you start to see that become a problem, even for people who said, oh, it's never a problem. I don't care. He could look like what'd they say? What did they say? He could look like an ogre or Shrek or something. He could look like, I think Lauren said, like, he could look like Shrek, and I still wouldn't care. Look at my eyes. Roll them. You would care. You would care, girl.
You definitely would care.
You lucked out, but you would care.
Yeah. So tell me, who's your favorite on the show from episode 1?
I don't know. I think I like them all for different reasons, and I dislike the ones I dislike for other reasons. Like, I won't even say this, I disliked anybody. I think it's more like I could tell who I wasn't gonna care for as much, just because I'm like, you're whiny, or you're too old to be having tantrums, or you know what I'm saying, like stuff like that. Like, and that's just me. You know, like if this were a more comedic conversation, the show is hilarious. It is, but not funny. On purpose. Yeah. Like if we were appealing from my comedic side, because I think I'm pretty funny. I don't know. I think I'm pretty funny. Anyway, if I were going for that side of it, like I would have way different things to say and way more like probably ignorant things to say. That would be like, oh yeah, that was funny, you know. But I don't know. Like I want to be able to interject some wisdom and some light in relationship and marriage, because I just feel like there's, you know, as much as people want it, not that there's not a ton out there, but people just don't talk about it. So and on that note, it'll be a good time to cut. So let's move more so into specific highlights of the show. Something I just want to make mention of is, like, does anybody else notice how Vanessa Lachey shakes her head so much? Like, it's so weird. Like, she's like, welcome to the experiment, and she just shakes her head. It's funny. Anyway, but moving on from that, I want to talk about Mark and Jessica. I think that's their names, right? Mark and Jessica, and that, like, they had so many things in common on day one. So I just want to ask you, how important do you think it is that you have things in common when you first meet someone? I mean, it's pretty important, because typically, like, if you don't have things in common and you can't find commonalities, you don't continue a conversation typically. Like, that's, in my experience, what drives a conversation is, like, the more things you find out about each other that are similar, that you can relate to, the more it projects you into something else. Like when someone's telling a story and you're like, oh, because it triggers something in your head, and then you feed off of each other, and before you know it, it's been however long. Like when we first started talking, that was how our conversations were every night on the phone, and it would be like, I would literally wake up in the middle of the night still on the phone with you and not even realize it. Like, what just happened? Like, and I'd look at my phone and it'd be like, oh, it's been 8 hours. Like, what? How did this happen? But it was because we would have these great, I guess they were great conversations, and then eventually we just fall asleep. But like, they would just keep going, and we would feed off of each other. And it was like, okay, then fine, we're not hanging up. And then we'd just be knocked out together. So yeah, I don't know, like, I think it's important, because if you don't find commonalities, like, what is there to talk about?
Yeah, and actually, I remember that from our marriage counseling. Dan Green, shout out to Dan Green. Dan. I remember him sitting down with me specifically. I don't think you were there, but he was basically saying the more things you have in common, the easier things will be. He didn't say, like, if you don't have anything in common, then it'll be really hard. But he was just saying, like, you guys have a lot of things in common, and that's really good. And when you have things in common, it makes marriage a lot easier. So I really do remember that moment. Thank you, Dan, for that.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, I think commonalities are extremely important when it comes to dating and marriage and relationships and stuff like that. So I think it seemed like they hit it off pretty well. I mean, they had a lot of stuff in common. She was from Chicago. He was from Chicago. She had a dog. He had a dog. She was a Cubs fan. He was a Cubs fan. She was a Bears fan. He was a Bears fan. You know, stuff like that. So, yeah. But on the scale of 1 to 10, having things in common.
And when you watch the show, it's interesting because they, like, if you watch their body language and how they start, like, most of them start by sitting down or, like, laying down on the couch, because it's like, okay, there's another date, a person I don't know, like, can't see them, and then you can tell the conversation's going because their body language changes.
Yep.
So they, like, go from maybe laying down, the guys like laying down on the couch and being like kind of disconnected, to sitting up, and they're leaning forward on the couch, and like the girls eventually they work their way from the back of the room by the door to like the front screen right where like it's separating them or whatever, like when they're super interested and intrigued by the conversation, or you know, and you can just tell too, it's almost like we don't even really pay attention. But like people who talk with their hands, like you see all of this while they're talking, and you can tell like how into the conversations they are. But you can also just see, I guess, like as if that person were in the room and they were being watched. Like their reactions are still like natural. You can tell. Like if someone's saying something that's funny, like they're just like, ah, it's not like a, you know, like I don't know.
They're not trying to be flirty.
Yeah,
you know,
they're not. Yeah, they're just kind of. Like whatever is natural to them is what they're doing, as opposed to, you know, I don't know, because like I don't know, I feel like when girls go on dates, like first dates or second dates, they're always super cautious, like when they eat and they care, and they care so much. And wrong, I'm not gonna just eat a salad ever. I'm gonna eat everything I want, and if you're buying it, I'm gonna order everything I want. No,
ladies,
I'm kidding.
y'all wrong. You know you wrong.
Okay, first of all, we were in college. We were in school, so neither of us like treated each other like with the expensive things on the menu ever when we were first dating.
I feel like we didn't really date. We hung out. Like,
yeah, we did. Well, we did date later though. Remember that one? We went on an expensive date. It was like our first real like fancy date after we'd been dating for like I don't even know how long, but it was like in a completely different state and all this. Anyway, going back to this, it was like they were not. I don't know. Like you could tell there was some pressure taken off from not having to look a certain way or behave a certain way physically, like they could just relax. But I also noticed that every time someone entered the pods, they were done up. They were absolutely done up.
I think that may have been part of the show,
couldn't be seen. Yeah, I mean, and that makes sense too, but it's like, I mean,
because even later, you know, when they got to the proposals, which did happen on this episode, like, how did the other girl know that she was getting proposed to and she was all done up? Like,
because they were always all done up, all of them. And there were a lot of them that disappeared, like I said before, like they just were there and then they were just not there. So I guess maybe somewhere along the lines and along the way with the show, they figured out like who was and wasn't making connections, or I do kind of wonder like the logistics there
for ratings
for the show. Yeah, I do wonder like the logistics there, like, oh, you're not finding anybody, or oh, you don't like anybody, bye. Yeah. I kind of want to know. But
something I do want to talk about, a highlight I do want to talk about is love on the 4th day. So Cameron and Lauren, like on day 4, she was like, Cameron, I think I love you. I don't know, how do you think you fall in love easy? Do you think someone can fall in love that easy?
I don't think I fall in love easy. But I don't know, because I can't say that I've been in love like more than a couple times.
I think we gotta define what love is too.
We do, and it's hard because it's like there's the idea of thinking I'm in love, and then there's like not just me but anyone thinking that they're in love, and then the idea of like the fact of actually being in love, because again, love is a choice in my opinion. And so it's like, to what extent are you willing to love somebody? So
agape love, are we talking
right,
like...
so it's just like, I don't believe that I could fall in love with someone in 4 days, especially someone I'd never seen, someone that I'd never seen go through a trial, someone that I'd never seen them react, and someone that I'd never seen how they treat their mom, like things that are important to me that will be a reflection of like later if I'm talking long term and forever. I don't know, but I also know, I think it just depends, because like I also know like how quickly I loved you. And it wasn't really because like we had just started talking and for 4 days. It was because we knew each other and we had built a friendship before we started dating. So the I love you part was easy because
it was easy.
It was genuine love. Like it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't like I just didn't know you, couldn't see you, hadn't met you. It was like, hey, random guy with the muscles that I think are there because I don't know because I can't see you. Like it wasn't anything like that. So I don't know. And I don't know. I don't think no, because like that's just not.
Yeah, me personally, I think I'm too guarded to fall in love after 4 days. Like, I think...
Challenge accepted. Oh, wait. It's been a lot more than 4 days.
Right. Yeah, it would be extremely hard for me. I don't picture myself saying I love you to someone only after 4 days of only hearing someone's voice. Yeah. Like, I would like to put myself in that situation and think that I would react differently. But I don't know because I've never been in that situation. I do get the feeling that I wouldn't be so quick to be like...
You wouldn't. You wouldn't. Even when we were... Okay, side note. When we were dating, we had been like talking to each other for a long time, y'all. Like some months. And I remember like he wouldn't even let me drink from his cup. He would not even let me drink from his cup. Because like I said, we've been talking for, it probably was like a good solid 10 months, like hanging out. And he would not let me drink from his cup. And he was like, no, because that's like kissing somebody. And I looked at him. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but like, okay. But he was very adamant about it. Like, y'all, he would not let me have a little sip. He would not let me have a sip. And I was like, for real?
Sip of my juice.
You gonna ruin our relationship over a sip? A little sippy sip? Can I get a sip?
Juice.
Anyway, so yeah, no, I don't actually see you being one of those to be like, oh, I love you after 30 minutes when I couldn't even have a sip after 10 months. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, those were the highlights that I wanted to talk about. Any other highlights that come to mind for you on episode 1? I thought it was fun to watch them congregate in the girl chamber and the men's chamber and talk about like their dates and how they felt. Again,
going back to, I think for the girls, a lot of it was pinpointing competition. And you could see because the 3 girls that liked Barnett, and it was like, as soon as someone would say the name, they're like, all of a sudden we're not really friends anymore.
Cat eyes, they were cutting each other. Yep.
All of it. But it was interesting
and that didn't happen on the men's side. Like,
right. Well, one of them made, and I don't know if it was episode 1, one of them made mention of, like, oh, so-and-so really likes her, so even though I made a connection, like, I'm going to back off, or, you know what I mean? I think it was, like, Barnett saying it about Mark and Jessica, but, like, I don't know. I was going to just say something and I forgot.
Yeah, and what I thought, too, was, like, how up and down everybody was, really. Because there was one lady there that said she found potentially 3 husbands, or 3 people that she could see herself being with for the rest of her life. Whereas,
but can she really see herself with them the rest of her life when she's never seen them?
Facts. And then also the way Jessica was, because she was so head over heels for Mark, and then Barnett came and she was so head over heels for him, and he's just like, you know, how does that play out?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Dang it, I wish I could remember what that was I was gonna say. Oh, because we were talking about how, so I did find it interesting though, how all of them had, for the most part, they all had someone different that they were connected to. So I wonder if there was like a process in choosing people. And it was almost like a matchmaker thing from the side of the show.
Yes.
Like maybe they figured like, hey, this person and this person might go well together, or, you know, I don't know. I wonder if maybe
they put their profiles in Match.com.
Yeah, like something, because it just seemed like it was interesting how so many of them had their person that other people didn't share. Just Barnett. He was the one that I guess everyone felt super connected to.
And on that note, so let's talk about more so shedding some light on marriage. What is the one thing that you wish someone had told you about marriage, or the thing that you feel like the show is lacking about marriage, and a godly marriage at that too?
I don't think there's any one thing, because I feel like there's so much to learn, and I feel like none of it can be learned right away, and none of it can be learned just with a heads up. And there are things just because of your personality, my personality, like our different backgrounds and experiences, our preferences, our likes and dislikes, all that factors in. So I don't think there's any one thing other than like forgiveness. That's like the biggest thing. And it's not like people didn't say it. And I remember one of my friends sitting me down like right before we got married, and she was like, girl, don't expect him to read your mind. And I looked at her like, clearly.
Hey, facts.
Like, clearly he's not gonna be able to read my mind. But then I also found in our first year of marriage how many times I was like, he can't read my mind. Like, what are you doing? We've been married a whole 35 days now. Like, why don't you just know? And so, like, I don't think there's any one thing. I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like there's so many things that come up, and there's so many things that you learn that you don't know you didn't know until you have to know them, or until you have to deal with them. So I don't know. But now I'll throw that back on you. Like, what is your one thing that you wish someone would have?
I wish somebody would have told me that I can't read minds.
Linda.
No, I think the one thing that I feel like people should have told me more so about, I'm reaching, because I really don't know what the one thing is. Like she said, maybe it's not just one thing. Maybe it's just the whole like, yo, it's gonna take time. It takes adjusting and riding the curves with each other, because we're always different at different seasons of our lives. So, and I've always heard that term, but it's impossible to quantify it when you're not married. So when we were dating, I couldn't imagine what it would be like to actually be married, and to hear someone say your partner's going to change and you have to learn how to change with them and be with them through the changes and stuff like that. It was just hitting a brick wall. Went through this side of my ear and out the other. It just didn't hit home because I couldn't experience it. So I get the feeling that even if someone had told me everything there is to know about marriage, it just probably wouldn't have hit me. It just would have been like, oh, it's cool, yeah, like, you know. So
yeah, and when you're about to get married, like, you're more focused on like, hey, I'm about to get married, and what that means for you probably more individually than what it means for you as a couple, because you still don't have that mindset, I think, of truly being able to think for both people, because you never really had to do it, at least not at the impact that comes once you're married. I don't know. I would say like one of the greater pieces of advice that I feel like we ever got, or I ever got, was to make sure. Now, see, you don't know me, so let me just tell you. I don't mind difficult conversations. I don't mind. What's the word I'm looking for?
Confrontation,
I guess. I don't mind it. So like, and I like to debate. So that was like one of the things that we butted heads about a lot when we first got married, especially like if we had like a disagreement or something where we're upset and we're wanting to talk about it, like he would need some time and I'd be like, nope, we're going now. And so that was like a constant thing that we like kept, it was like a wall we just kept running into. And eventually we mellowed out. At some point we switched places. Like I I was like, nope, I'll take the time. And you're like, no, we're gonna talk about it now. And so like I don't know. So we went through phases, which
guys,
is
you
funny.
gotta understand. I needed the time because I'm slow. Like that's just it.
I'm not
I need
slow.
time to
It
process
wasn't that. I was just like, okay, let's chill. But like I do think one of the better pieces of wisdom and advice that I ever got was to make sure that we're fighting for each other, not with each other.
Yeah.
And that was like one of the big ones, because when that actually, like I heard it and I was like, oh dang, that's deep. And like 20 minutes later, I'm ready to debate again. So it was just like, once it finally like, I was able to soak it in. It was like, oh, okay, so that's what this means. Like, okay, how does that look in our
You
relationship?
definitely hear things different, especially after some years.
Yeah.
You know. So,
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's your like greatest piece of wisdom or advice that you heard?
Greatest piece of wisdom. So this is more so in recent times, and believe it or not, it comes from Dave Chappelle. Chappelle be dropping gems, guys. He does. But it was at one of his recent stand-ups where he was talking about his mom and something that his mom always told him, which was he was expressing to everyone that like he doesn't like to be debating and argumentative and stuff like that, and that his mother always told him that sometimes you gotta be a lion so that you can be the lamb that you truly are. So it's like sometimes it's necessary for you to take on that position of aggressive or whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, kind of style of leadership, so that you can actually be the nice, calm person that you truly are. So I think that was a really good piece of advice. It's set in with me for a good long, ever since I heard it. I just thought it was really powerful. But that's more so in recent times. As far as like greatest piece of advice, I don't know. I don't think I had a great piece of advice for marriage. I came from a home that was a single parent home. I didn't know too many other older married couples, so all of it was very new for me. So yeah, I think this is a good stopping point for you guys. So if you guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff.
And we'll have our goal is to be able to drop some wisdom in the midst of being funny. We want you to have a good time, because we have a good time together.
Usually. Yeah. We might have a real good time later. Alright, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
I'm getting tired.
Yeah, always.